Today, the stock market set a little trap and made it down to some of our targets, but is the move over with? Are we about to go to new all-time highs? We look at the Dow and we see a sea of red. Intel and Goldman Sachs was the big winners out of the Dow today. And we look at the fear and greed index, we are sitting back at 52. Now, keep in mind, today Jay Powell was testifying, but he's going to be on the podium once again tomorrow. Now, we come over and look at how the indices fared today. The Dow was down 52 points. The NASDAQ was up 25, S&P was up 4, and the Russell 2000 was down 0.9. We look at advancing issues versus declining. Once again, we had more declining issues than we had advancing. Then as we come over and look at the sectors, financials were leading the way, followed by consumer cyclicals, then utilities. Speaking of financials, we come over and look at KRE. KRE did have a decent day on the way up today. It was actually up 1.79%. If we come over and we look at the XLF today was not nearly as strong as what we saw with KRE. XLF was only up 0.75%, but if you look, we've had this extended move up. Now we're doing nothing more than having an upper level consolidation. Is this going to be resolution to the upside, or will we start to come back down? Keep in mind, right now, we're in a very bullish period of the market. If indeed you believe what this stat goes on to say, from July 8th through the 15th, the S&P is up 17 out of the last 19 occurrences, and the NASDAQ for that same period has been up 22 times out of the last 24 occurrences. Now, all morning long, we are hearing Jay Powell speak, and Jay Powell, basically, if you guys go back and rewind the tape, him and Elizabeth Warren had a little bit of a spat back and forth a little bit. I think she was getting under his skin. But basically what Jay Powell went on to say is they want to see more good inflation. And when we look at the economic calendar, tomorrow Jay Powell's going to be speaking again. But one thing I picked up on his body language is I believe looking at Jay Powell's body language today, the CPI data coming in on Thursday is actually going to be a lot better than what people may believe. Now, will that be enough to have the NASDAQ going to all-time highs, the SPY going to another new all-time high later in the week? Because we're starting to see signs of some cracks. Look at Microsoft today. Basically had an inside day yesterday with a doji looking candle. Then we had a bearish engulfing candle today, starting to come down lower. The MACD indicator on the daily chart is also starting to weaken at this point. Then we come over and look at Amazon. Amazon was essentially flat for the day and basically went up. We've had an upper level consolidation, not a whole lot to see there. We take a look at Tesla with another very bullish day, up 3.71%. Make it a new recent high once again. The shorts are absolutely getting squeezed. To the downside, we do have some gaps that should come back and get filled at some point. Once Tesla says, you know what, enough is enough, we're going to start to pull back. And if we look over here to the left, we're right within an area where we could actually see Tesla start to get a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction on the way back down. We wicked into that little resistance level. We'll see if it starts to produce a bit of a downturn from this point on. We look at NVIDIA today. NVIDIA was up $3.21 or up 2.5%. But if you look at the candle, this isn't the most bullish looking candle. We have a wick on the top, we have a wick on the bottom, and I would consider this to be a spinning top type of candle, which is a candle of indecision. So in this case, neither the bulls nor the bears were able to take control. But if you look, you know, NVIDIA buyers are eyeing all-time highs, and we know they're going to try to push it there. The question is, are they going to be successful or not? Today, the fear and greed index came in at 52. And if you look, basically, we're not able to budge one way or the other. And we've been in neutral territory for quite some time. I think I'm just so used to seeing it in greed and extreme greed territory that it kind of feels odd to see the market in neutral territory for such a long period of time. Now, if we look at the NASDAQ, we come over and look at the heat map real quick. You can see Tesla was a big winner out there. Microsoft, big loser. AVGO was also a big loser. And speaking of AVGO, Broadcom, could this be setting up a larger ABC pattern on the way down? If indeed this ends up producing a lower high, watch out. That'll probably give us the ABC structure coming down and starting to fill in this gap that we had out here from earnings. And let's not forget the stock split for AVGO is right around the corner. Now, as we look at the dollar index today, the dollar index was up a whopping 10 cents on the session. And we break this down, look at this on an intraday basis. You can see 10 o'clock, once Powell started testifying, dollar started to gain strength. And then as the afternoon started to take hold, we slowly started to drift a bit lower. We come over and look at the VIX, not a whole lot to see there. We're up a whopping 14 cents. And we're spending a lot of time down here near these lows, near the 52-week lows. Are we getting ready to break and go lower, or is there trouble up ahead? Keep in mind, if you're a NASDAQ trader, the NASDAQ has peaked out more times in July than in any other month. And as we come over and look at the Qs, what do we see today? We actually produced a red candle. However, the NASDAQ was still green for the day. It just happened to gap up and closed lower than where we actually gapped up this morning. We look out here on the 4-hour chart, huge MACD divergence still. We've had one red candle in a sea of green candles as of recently. Then as we come over and look at the 30-minute chart, one thing I want you guys to pay attention to, the MACD indicator is crossed to the downside, working its way down towards the zero line. Now, if price stays up here near these upper levels, when the MACD indicator gets down towards the zero line, watch out. That could be nothing more than a recharge point to see the NASDAQ go ahead and rip to new all-time highs once again. Now, yesterday I told you guys I would expect a breakout or breakdown from yesterday's pattern, which was a D-shaped profile. And I said, whichever way we break first, normally tends to be a trap. And today, what do? We gapped up, they trapped them, and we slowly started to drift a little bit lower. Now, the question is, tomorrow when Jay Powell starts to testify, are they going to set a secondary trap and we're going to start running right back up once again? Now, the range today was a lot wider than what we saw yesterday. I want to make everybody aware, Apex 7A massive 80% sale off all their valuation accounts, past in as little as 1 day. And you can also get a 150K account for only $40. You get a 250K account for only $40. And you get a 300K account for only $40. So if you want to take advantage of this offer, use the link in the description box down below and use the promo code Mike at checkout. And when we look at the futures markets, you can see on the 4-hour chart, we've finally been able to produce a red candle. And one of the areas I said to watch out for was this high volume area here, which we basically made it back towards. Keep in mind, we have a huge minus development area. And think about this as nothing more than poor structure in the market. As we come down into this area, we'll probably get into it. We'll bounce back up. And then as we come down a second or third time, that's when we'll flush down towards some of these other high volume areas on the profile. And let's not forget, we still have an untested value area high from last week at 20,340. Now, the reason why this is important because last week on the daily profile, we closed well above the weekly value area high, which signifies that either this week or next week, we're likely going to come back and test that level, similar to what I warned you guys about yesterday. On the daily chart yesterday, we closed above value area high. And what did I say? We are likely going to go ahead and set a trap, come down towards that area. I talked about that in this morning's video. And we also came all the way down here towards the point of control at 20,636. So we're able to take out two of those high probability targets. And the question is, are we going to have further declines tomorrow? When I classify today's profile shape, I'd look at it as a D as in dog shape profile, which is similar to yesterday where I expect a breakout or breakdown from this pattern. Now the range does look larger than what we saw on Friday. However, are we going to sit there and just chop all the way until the CPI data comes out? When we look at this, we have value area low coming in at 20,655.25. The point of control comes in at 20,673.25. Value area high will come in at 20,732.25. Now, as I look at this, since we're not below value area high or low, we're kind of stuck within value. Here's where we have the huge edge. If we break value area low and we start coming back up, I want to be bullish. If we break value area low and we're staying below it, I want to stay on the sell side of the market. Now, as we start to work our way up, I want to pay attention to this minus development area right here on the profile. Now, it's not as much as I would like to see in terms of, how shallow the valley is, but right here about 20,708. If the market makes it up towards this area, watch out for a potential reversal on the way back down. If we get to the other side of it, then we're probably coming all the way back up towards value area high. Now, we come over and we look at the SPY today. The SPY was up 54 cents on the session, making a new all-time high out here. We need to go ahead and readjust the Fibonacci retracement levels. Now, keep in mind, a 38% retracement would be a minor retracement in what could still be a very bullish phase of the market. The 38% retracement comes in about 551.61. And if you notice, we kind of have a little minus development area within the profile. I will not be the slightest bit surprised if we start trading into this area sometime later on this week. Then as we dive down, we look at the 30-minute chart. Look at what we have. The MACD indicator making a beeline down towards the zero line. However, price is still elevated at the upper levels. Keep in mind, like we talked about with the NASDAQ, if the MACD indicator gets towards the zero line and price is still in upper level consolidation, watch out. This could be nothing more than a recharge point to see the SPY go ahead and rally to new all-time highs. Now, as we look at the S&P 500 futures markets, notice we made it right back into this volume area we talked about this morning. And now the question is, will we be able to make it a little bit lower? One of the areas we're going to be watching is 56.18. Then the next area is going to be about 55.91. And let's not forget, we still have that untested value area high at 55.78.50. However, I don't just simply want to target those levels. I want to go ahead and qualify them based on the volume profile levels. And And when we look at it, I'm going to classify today as a D as in dog shape profile. Now, tomorrow I'm expecting a breakout or breakdown, but again, maybe we're gonna have a couple days of these back-to-back D-shaped profiles before we get the true break in the market. Now, on the S&P 500, you can see we're closing right near value area low, which comes in at 5631.50. The point of control will come in at 5638.00, and value area high will come in at 5639.00. So tonight, one thing to note, if we're breaking below value area low, then guess what? I want to target 5625.50, which is yesterday's point of control. But if we start breaking value area low and we start getting back above it, I then need to look for a rotation up. However, I'm not going to target the point of control as my first target. Instead, in this case, I'm actually going to target right here near these candle bodies at about 5635.50. Then I would target the point of control, then value area high, and then look to target a run all the way back up towards all-time highs. Now, if you guys want to see how I use Bookmap to find high probability trades, watch this video right here.